And welcome to Coping with Donald. I am Phil. I'm not going to really talk about Donald today. I mean, everything is involved with Donald, and Donald is involved with everything. However, basically, what I want to talk about today is 2026 coming up and the possible stock market directions. Now, the stock market is a very weird thing. Sometimes it does very well when everything seems lost, and other times it doesn't seem to do very well when everything's going fine. You never really know what is going to happen. However, I think there's some very good reasons to suggest that this year could be very unfulfilling for people in the stock market. For one thing, the stock market, out of the 4 years of any presidency, the stock market has historically gained the least in the second year. And we are going into the second year of this presidency. And this is the year where the stock market is most vulnerable and has lagged behind the other 3 years, historically. But there's some very real reasons, and feel free to argue with me or voice your opinion. Please hit the like button. Yay! Please subscribe. But there are some things that stand out, and I don't really think any of the first three, can really be debated. Number one is a person like myself. I'm going to use myself as an example. I don't often play long term in the stock market, and the reason is because I'm of an age where it would be very hurtful to go into a bad time. But I do buy certain mutual funds that pay out a certain amount of interest during those times, centered around, for example, with government bonds and things like that. Right now, I'm in something. It's a Charles Schwab fund, and it has to do with U.S. Treasuries. But the interest is going to be going down. It's gone down a little bit already. It at one point was paying about 5.25%, 5.5%. I think it's down to about 4.25% now. And it will go down further as interest rates are cut. A year ago, when Donald Trump was saying, "Oh, I want interest rates to go down to 1% overnight," I was very much against that. Now, obviously, we can see reasons for the interest rate to properly be cut. We didn't know if we'd be fighting both inflation or a slowing economy at that time. People were yelling more about inflation, so Powell focused on inflation. And by the way, I think he gets a lot more grief from Trump than he should get. But I wouldn't be surprised to see the Fed lower interest rates to like 1% within like 2 months, okay? Because Trump demands it once Powell is gone. And supposedly that will help with people, say, buying cars. Although I find that hard to believe, because a lot of the people buying cars and getting them repossessed right now are kids or people with lousy credit, and they've been given these long-term loans with very high interest rates, 12%, 17%, 22%. And I don't think when you're at 22%, 1 or 2% interest is going to really change your life much. But a person like me, and here's the key, a person like myself, with my money generating less in interest, that gives me less to spend. So that means that I have to cut back on my Miller High Life, I guess. It means I have to. No, actually, that's what I would buy. I have to cut back on more expensive beers. But so there's a lot of people who are just content with getting interest on their savings, interest on their CDs, interest on treasuries, and they're going to have to accept less. Okay, so they're going to have less to spend. Not good for the economy. Secondly, the people that are going to be having their Medicare premiums doubled, or I'm sorry, their health insurance premiums doubled because Trump does not want to give a Medicare subsidy. The natural result of that is either one, they're going to go without health insurance, which will eventually bankrupt a lot of people, or and also injure the whole medical community, hospitals, insurance companies, et cetera, because there will be less money going in. Or they're going to pay the higher amounts. If they pay the higher amounts, again, there's another family with less to spend. So they're either going to have less to spend, or they're going to and be paying extremely high premiums, or they're going to be putting themselves on the end of the tree limb, really, waiting for it to be cut off if someone gets sick. The third thing that'll keep people from having enough money to spend, if I can read my own writing. Come on, man. I wish I knew how to pause this. Oh, here it is. Found it. School loans are going to have to start to be repaid in January. A lot of those things have really ballooned up because while the payments were paused, the interest was still being accrued. So people are looking at these things now going, oh my God, it's a mortgage. Once their pays start to be, they're going to garnish the wages. That's another big amount of money that's going to come out of what people can spend on the economy. So those three things are going to lead to a slowing in the economy. It has to happen that way because their money is being spent somewhere or not made. Where last year and the year before and the year before that, they did have that money, whether it was a positive thing or a negative thing in the long run. The fourth thing is, of course, the tariffs. There's a fourth thing, and it's the tariffs, which are going to raise the prices. And if prices are going up, you're not going. I haven't seen coffee come down yet. Just saying. If tariffs are going to go up or stay where they are now, there's going to be less money to spend this year than there was in 2025 because we didn't even have tariffs for the first 4 months. And finally, we have a one special market that's really going to be hurt, and that's the car market. Carfax has a bunch of cars in their lot that for sale that it might be 10 or 15% off, say, what the car originally sold for, but it's got 50,000 miles on it. I saw another film on Enterprise Rent-A-Cars, which they want to sell after 50,000 miles. Those are rental miles, by the way. And it just was prices that you're not too comfortable with. So that's a lot of car salesmen, a lot of people that work in the offices, the finance offices, et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of people that will be out of work because the cars are piling up. RVs are piling up. Anything that's motorized is piling up right now. These are things that people aren't buying right now because they're too expensive. So you can see that there's a lot of potential huge negatives. The only positive is that the stock market doesn't always play by the rules. So that might help them in the long run. But I just wanted to point out that really, I think it would be very hard for the country to avoid a recession in 2026, a very serious one. 10%, the top 10% of wage earners in this country, and I guess net worth, purchase 50% of the consumer goods. All right, that means the other 90% of people are only purchasing half of the consumer goods, and that's going to shrink even more. So, while I'm not a financial advisor, I would say that I think that, to be honest, as a consumer, I think prices have to come down eventually, especially when a lot of people are out of work, if that happens. And I think that if you just don't worry about increasing your net worth, if you can just stay where you are and just be patient, you might find home prices coming down to something that you're more comfortable with. And prices of cars. I don't see 2026 as the year of $90,000 trucks being sold. So that's it for this version of Coping with Donald. Guard your finances well. Good luck. Good luck to all of us. Happy New Year. Although I think at the end of this year, when we look back, we're not going to consider it the greatest year around. But just take care of yourselves.